Welcome to Success Decoded. Experience is a master teacher even when it's not your own. That's what we believe in. A podcast about startup, entrepreneurship experiences, and loads of learnings from the best entrepreneurs and investors from all across the globe. I am Balaji Rao, your host. Come join this revolution by Startup Monk and learn things that will help you for life.
To drop the value bombs, today we have Ankur Goyal, who is the founder of SquareUp. SquareUp is something like Ankur's dream, and he has been helping a lot of startups by hand-holding and helping them grow, both at the financially advisory as well as a lot of other things that Ankur offer to a lot of startups through SquareUp. Ankur has also been associated with a lot of prominent institutes throughout the country, as well as he has been helping a lot of early stage startups and giving them advisory roles. And welcome, Ankur, to Success Decoded, and say hi to the audience.
Yeah, thanks, Balaji. Thanks for the briefing also. Hi, everyone. This is Ankur. I'm founder and CEO of SquareUp.com, which is a business and financial advisory firm for various different stakeholders like startup SMEs, incubators, and investors.
Cool.
Yeah.
So, Ankur, as you have started through as a CA, and then you have worked in a lot of corporate sectors, and then you have got into regional director of investments. You have been doing the investments, and all of this journey looks kind of very interesting for us. Can you please take us through how you got started and how has the journey been, and what led to one another, and how you have got to what you are today as a narration?
Yeah, so Balaji, I think I would say I've been very lucky enough that I've gone through with that journey. Although, like any other journey, any other people, it's full of challenges too, and it has been full of up downs. But yes, God have always supported me, and so I've gone through with this scenario in a more interesting way. Like when I started my journey as a CA by doing a CA and CS both, right? So although my passion was not CA, and suddenly my father got me into the CA, and I was thinking that I will drop it somewhere around in the middle. But thereafter, the synergies that started coming in while doing the legal, financials as well as the secretarial things together. So I was tend to go into the advisory because I was analytical from the beginning and try to evolve the analysis on various different financial and the legal areas, right? But suddenly what happened, like I cleared my CS first, and thereafter my CA got delayed. But during this period, I started working with some of the boutique investment banks. And luckily, I got some, I would say, very interesting assignments like the IPO advisory IPO advisory for government undertaking, and also like the corporate debt restructuring matters. So this is something the profile. So initially, my focus was to think about on the right sort of work profile rather than just the brand name with the organizations, right? So I never looked upon like in terms of getting into the brands because the learnings are mostly there with the small and the medium-sized organizations. Mm-hmm. So that is something I made as a part of my journey and started working with, the investment of the merchant banking. And but the homework, whatever we did during our, course curriculum, or you can say learnings that we learned out of our course analytical perspective, that really helped me in kicking out basically those critical assignments where I was the key person who deployed it, right? Mm-hmm. And before just qualifying CA, it was a time of year about 2.5 years where, I've worked on these assignments and successfully completed, right? But as I'm mentioning about the challenges, it was a time when we were facing the, recession post 2008. Near about, you can say, the 2011-12, right? Where I got qualified as a CA in 2011, and thereafter start working more actively in the finance domain. Mm-hmm. So after completing these crucial assignments with the boutique investment banks, I joined the MNCs also on the strategic role, like with initially one MNC in the medical sector where I was heading like as a strategic manager and taking care of the new initiatives and the new innovations for that MNC, and thereafter switching it to the new MNC over there, which was in the infra thereafter, where I handled completely the financial controlling responsibilities, financial as a financial controller over there. So work was quite interesting also in terms of the diversification which I've gone through. So during this last 12 plus years, I've gone through with a lot of diversifications, especially if you talk about the finance as a domain. So I've covered almost all the areas, starting from investment banking, whether you name it as a corporate finance, valuations, corporate debt restructuring, IPO advisory, investments, business advisory, and financial controlling, project controlling for MNCs, strategic role with the MNCs or the I would say the key concerns, key firms over there. So so after doing this, because my area was and my focus was the consulting, right? Initially, I get into the MNCs for their strategic as well as the financial advisory work. But later on, in 2014, basically, I switched to the investment banking again, right? So there, my first initial assignment, where after this MNC financial controlling work, I headed up to is the valuations. So I headed one of the valuation vertical of a mid-sized investment bank and have assisted more than 100 SMEs basically in the valuation and the business advisory over there. So that was the entry into the investment banking post I would say the IPO advisory and the consulting work as a CDR, right? And there my journey completely evolved because this time this was the time when the startups were coming into the picture more actively, right? The startup journey actually got evolved to the next level when the resource penetration as well as the resource alignment was there. Whether you talk about as a know-how, investments for the startups, as well as the new ideas and new innovations, right? So during my work as a valuation advisory, basically, we start looking out to the startups as well as the nitty-gritties over there. And since there is one, by God grace, one good thing which everybody has its own, but in my case was to understand the nerves of a business, basically, the nitty-gritties of a business was a key element which I was keeping and I was driving. So that helped me to eventually come to the startup advisory. And after completing this or after doing this valuation advisory or the business advisory, I came to the VC fund called Ankit Capital, right? Okay. So it's a micro VC firm where I headed investments and we invested up to 3 deals over there, basically, which was up to pre-series A. And it was a very interesting experience because so perspective as an investment investor is totally different, right? So I have lived that particular perspective and we have assisted the investment in a sector agnostic way, both at the 3 of the levels. One is like the pre-investment, second is at the time of investment, and third is at the post-investment monitoring as well as controlling. So we have faced as well as done all the 3 roles over there as a investment head, right? So there we actually, it was the stage when we actually come to the startup investment as well as the startup phase. And post that, because that was the time when demonetization also happened, right? So our fund basically commitments as well as for the future investment got dry up. So that was the time when I parallelly got the opportunity to head Rajasthan startup ecosystem for one of the foundation. And also thereafter, once I go to the Rajasthan, I come across with various different startup networks, or you can say the mentor or the investor connect, right? Previously also as a fund, we were driving that particular startup scenario, but more actively I entered as a front face when I was on the ground, especially for heading up the Rajasthan startup ecosystem. And there comes the opportunity so opportunities got evolved. So I always believe you should have always key to learning. Like you should open for the learning as well as to explore new avenues rather than restricting about yourself to one or particular 2 domains. if you are exploring and your vision towards where you want to be is right, then accordingly you explore or you place well with the time, right? So accordingly, when I went to the Rajasthan startup ecosystem, I got the opportunity directly with the Rajasthan government to work on one of the key projects, which was the last tenure of the Vasundhara Raje government over there, and there, we got involved with more than I would say 200 startups basically, and actively I supported like more than 100 startups in making their business foundation and growth plan stronger. So I was heading it in Rajasthan, and that actually enlarges and multiply my scale in terms of the startup as well as the stakeholders connect, right? But likewise, parallelly, there was few of the things which was going on in terms of the initiative which we started, right? So, and I was always keen to figure out what exactly the gap in any particular system structure, or maybe the growth of these organizations. So we figured out various different gaps, and that gaps basically tend to be the stepping stone for coming as a square up, basically. So 2018 October November was the time when we floated the squareup.com by catering to those gaps and coming up with the value proposition as well as the service offering. So my journey is altogether not different than a startup journey, although I'm coming from a consulting background. But yes, if we are ready to support the startup in a way, I think we should open for the learnings as well as the same applications for our domain as well. So I have always been flexible towards whatever the work we have to explore and work, and especially in terms of strategies, which has to redefine with time as well as with the requirements, but keeping your alignment towards your main objective or goal. So that's how.
Cool. It's a very, very long story, and I hope there are a lot of things that a lot of people understood that goes behind it. And also, very recently, I have been coming across this new initiative of yours called Quarantine Speaks Initiative. Apart from that, as well, you have been founding a lot of initiatives which you have been taking across. And what are the exact what exactly goes behind these initiatives, and what are the reasons of coming up with these initiatives that you have been coming up with?
Okay, so scenario is, as I told you that I always in a mode to figure out something in terms of problem statements. And it's not that I just tend to do completely as a startup on my own, or I would say not just a startup but a business venture on my own, but it's something, where we feel that with the time and with the evolution of the time, certain things are like the needs of the requirements. So I've never been like a step back in terms of initiating something, those requirements, if somebody is not doing, or maybe we are figuring that particular gap, which is much more aligned with our synergies. So for example, we work on various different initiatives, and we started up as a social initiatives, all the three. One is like the humans of capital, second is like the horticulture, third is like the recent one, the quarantine speaks. All the three were the social initiatives with the objective that it has to help the people at large in some way or other, right? Okay. So with the humans of capital, we try to capture the various people experiences as well as people with having some differentiating factor with others. And definitely every human being is different, whether it's at the top or at the bottom. So to figure out that niche, basically the humans of capital was incepted, right? Horticulture was our initiative basically, or it is an initiative because it is still going on. We have completed one batch last year and early basically this financial year. So horticulture is to assist basically the artisans at ground and to uplift their livelihood to the next level by providing different needs, right? And also to assist basically our Indian heritage art forms and to take it to the next level, because somewhere around, if we talk about the heritage and all, so it's again a problem statement. I believe many of the startups are doing it, but here we try to do as a social initiative in a way where what different can bring up for them. not just a platform for their products, but how these art form or the scenario can sustain for a long. So that was our initiative in this direction.
Okay.
And the third one is the quarantine peaks. Definitely, it's as the word denotes. You, me, and many other are basically in this quarantine scenario, and we are facing. So there are two sort of people. One is like who are in the panic situation, who are having tensions and all. Second is the people who are trying to do some different means or new opportunities they are figuring out to do via online and via working from home. And perspective of all the individuals are different. If I'm an entrepreneur, I might have a different perspective. If I'm a working professional or a student or a housewife, my perspective would be different, right? So to capture that particular different perspective and to offer as a platter on one table to all the people so that they can learn from other experiences during this lockdown and how they are coping up with them, what are the tips, what are their experiences. So that's how this quarantine speak has been incepted. So objective is we always tend to be focused on where exactly the people at large can be served or can be benefited by some social or other initiatives. So that's as a part of our startup ecosystem. We are also trying to figuring out that gap, especially in the social nature, and that's how. That's our basically you can say motivation towards coming up with these initiatives.
Mm-hmm. So at this articulture thing that you have been doing, you told that apart from the providing a platform for them to do that, all of those things, what other things have you done? Like, have you involved the youth in it to help them understand the things about the heritage and the art culture, or what other things that you have done behind this initiative?
Yeah, so definitely because the youth is actually not getting much of the interest or not taking much of the interest right now in Indian heritage, as we are moving towards the Western culture majorly, right? However, the Western people and the other countries, they are moving towards and valuing like the Indian heritage a lot, correct? So how to bridge that gap, how to bring that community, or especially the youth and the next generation, to realize that exactly what asset we are. So that's how this initiative is all about. And there we try to provide them the training, to provide them the knowledge base, basically, so that not just these art form can be sustained, but also the livelihood of those ground level artisans can improve. Because otherwise what's happening, whatever the mediums or the platforms the people are coming up with, so it's like the middleman who's actually earning a major part of the complete revenues and all, right? Mm-hmm. And the bottom level artisans are not that served to the next level. So our objective in the social initiative was how we have to uplift their livelihood, have to create sustainability for the art forms, and how we can increase their visibility to the next level. So that's how.
Cool. It seems so much interesting. And also, as you have been in the strategic advising and financial sector for so long, so we'd also like to know, people are in a panic situation. Apart from that, people are saying that a recession would come, which would last longer than what the previous recession in 2008 came. So what things would you like to advise for the founders and entrepreneurs at this point in time, and also how they should be doing something, what extra things that they should be doing or something like that to be better and sustaining in the future as well?
Right. So I think, see, I've already taken near about 6-7 webinars in the last 15-20 days, and we are advising to startup founders, especially couple of things which are much more crucial. So see, first of all, they have to analyze the situation in a much more realistic way, rather than just keeping away from the noise and all. Second, they have to come up with a better thought process now, especially in terms of their better planning. And it has to be divided. I'm not going in a blanket way, but I'll tell you very honestly the breakup of the scenario which they have to focus on. So first 6 months, especially talking about from this date to the next 6 months, are very critical and coming on the survival things, right? How to survive. Because we are estimating that more than 50% startups may die their own death, right? Because of lack of funding, lack of customers and all. So there, those sustainable, I would say survival plan has to be there more robustly. Second is like 6 to 18 months or 18 to 6 to 24 months is the scenario which is a mid-time perspective, where again the demand would be very much in a stress, and there the startup has to rethink about all their marketing, cash management, as well as the other strategies. Especially they have to rethink about their B plan, I would say. So there, because investment and other things are there once you are at the comfortable stage as well as at the growth stage. But right now, with what we are seeing, typically in majority of the startups, that this next 18 to 24 months, rather than growth, but it's much more crucial from the sustainability perspective, right?
Exactly.
So there the focus has to be there, and you can think on coming to the different angle now. You can think better, you can think peacefully if you are not having issue related to your cash management or the cash survival. So there, we are advising all the startup, in fact, to create a buffer to work out on their monthly needs. Especially, they should ask their team also to work out on their minimum monthly requirements and keep that buffer aside, basically by their savings and all, typically for 9 to 12 months. This activity seems very, very small, but psychologically it gives a lot of impact. I'm practically doing it because I buffered that amount basically for my next 12 months sustainability, and whatever the activity I'm doing on a daily basis, that's an additional, that's an add-on, which whatever the results it gives, maybe in terms of commercial, non-commercial, that's the add-on. So typically you get mentally free once you are psychologically okay that yes, you have sufficient cash to sustain yourself basically for the next 12 months. Second, it's also important that, and we have seen with a lot of startups that they are doing some tactical approaches to earn some simultaneous cash or the alternate cash cow, right? I think this is a very crucial time where the focus of the founder should be on their business, but at the same time, how alternate cash mechanism or the cash cow they can create, maybe based on the low-hanging fruits or the synergies they have. So, for example, we are advising to couple of companies and would like to share their example. One is in the agriculture where they're producing the mushrooms over there and enhancing the mushrooms quality, right? But since it's a essential item need and it's not necessary, whatever the price you are asking for or the enhancement, people will look out. Rather, people will look out for the supply of the mushrooms as their daily items. So they have tend to switch their model right now in this short term where they will be doing the trading of the mushrooms rather than doing the enhancing, increasing the price and thereafter looking out the customer. Rather, they will be using, because they have the good connect with the suppliers, they have the good connect with the supply chain also, right? And the distribution channel. So their focus has been switch on. Secondly, like one of the IT company where I'm representing as CFO. So what they are doing, they have a team of more than 70 people, right? And they are into the software development as well as the ANC services and all. Mm-hmm. But now, since the scenario has been changing and many of the customers may not like for the software development per se or the competition or the price challenges would come, simultaneously to utilize this big team network, they are coming up with a scenario where they can create a BPO also. BPO to handle basically the language support for the UK as well as the US, right? So it's a tactical approach people are thinking about to increase the simultaneous or the alternate cash, which the founders can ultimately use to their business and can increase the sustainability of the business during this panic time. And once the panic time is over, you can think about the growth strategies. So similarly, this is also crucial, and yes, last but not the least, as everybody in the various different webinars is talking about the cash and the other things, there is one factor called discretionary income. I would like to stress on that particular point also. Discretionary income is something which a user spends on the non-essential items. Like essential needs, we know that the food, clothing and all. But on the non-essential, when we talk about luxury, when we talk about travel, tour, hospitalities and all, that comes in the discretionary income, right? Mm-hmm. So due to this COVID-19 issue and the recession that is coming around the corner, so discretionary income will actually suffer. And the people, especially whatever the individual you talk about, all their discretionary income will now be very less or very minute, and people will be rethinking about first on their earnings and second on their savings. Right, because India has been tend to be a consumer market, but now the scenario is the consumer market itself will be in a stress situation, and the consumer will be focused towards the necessity, to the essential things. So there, by analyzing this discretionary income, you can figure out which industry or where exactly you can see the promising scenario coming in, especially in the next 24 months. And otherwise, if you are in the non-essential item thing, I think you have to re-strategize both your product service, your B plan, as well as a go-to-market strategy once the scenario is being opened up, and maybe some alternate means or the alternate structuring. Plan A, Plan B, Plan C sort of. Yeah.
Okay, that's great. So, as a part of a lot of initiatives, mainly the quarantine speaks, what interesting things have you observed which are happening during this lockdown, and can you share some of those?
Yeah, see, I think a lot of interesting things are happening. And in fact, we at a quarantine speak have received more than 50, I think, experiences and tips. And I would like, through your platform, would also request people to come forward and to share their experiences and tips on quarantinespeaks.com. But as a part of learning and which we have observed is, like, there is a term in finance. Again, I'm a financial guy, so I would like to explain through the financial word itself.
Mm-hmm.
There is a term called retained earnings, right? Retained earning is something which the part of the earning which you reinvest in the business, right? Earlier, when we were moving so fast, we were not having that much of the time to think about ourselves and to devote that time on ourselves, right? But I think COVID-19 has actually changed the scenario significantly in this direction as well, where now the people are reinvesting their time because they have surplus time. They have saved a lot of time in traveling, a lot of time in the meetings or the offices and all, and on other miscellaneous unproductive activities. So now they are reinvesting the time in themselves, right? In themselves, I would say, and doing those activities which they have never done, maybe in the last 5, 10 years or 2 years scenario. Some people are focusing on their health, some are doing meditation, some are doing the drawing painting, some are evaluating the new business opportunities, some are actually validating their business model again and again by talking to the various experts, some are actually onboarding the various industry experts, like the experienced people on board. I think that's a positive way where people are thinking about where exactly this period can be actually benefited, not just to themselves, but to their business or the other allied activities. So that's a big change I'm seeing in this quarantine period, and that is coming as a part of learning from this quarantine speaks also.
Mm-hmm. So one thing that I observed is like a lot of people, especially startups previously, stressed a lot on office space. And in this situation like this, everyone went into remote work culture. So a lot of startups would have thought like the office space is not required. Like they might have felt that kind of a thing that they can do it without the office space as well. This I was thinking so.
Right. I think you are right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to add, see, it's a consequential, I would say the consequences you can say. For example, now people have realized, and in fact are realizing with the time, that they have to cut down their costs, especially the spending, right? So office space, since now they are being, I would say COVID-19 has made it validate, and the people to validate the other model like to work from home, right? Some people which have not taken even a risk before, now they are under a mandatory situation to validate that how this work from home scenario can work out for their business and can work out in a well position. So over here, thought process of the people has changed to cut down the cost. Definitely the co-working, working places, everything is coming on a stress, and we will see a lot of scenario coming down post lockdown as well, right? Second is like perspective towards investment. Earlier, we always, and it's a very interesting fact I would like to share in 2 minutes. So earlier, we used to say to the entrepreneur that boss, focus on your business first, try to make it sustainable and run the show without considering the investment, right? But they were always, majority of the startups, majority of the founders were always in a hurry that no, they are looking for the investment because that is being required to validate, to growth, to, substantiate and all. But now this scenario has actually given them the reality that now the investments are coming little down and significantly down, not just little. So in the next 12 to 18 months, investments will happen, but will happen at a very low pace, right? So now this lockdown is actually giving no means or no other option to the startup founder, but giving a litmus test that you have to test yourself now, your skills, your business model, as well as your alternate solution, your approach to figure out the alternate solution. Because as an entrepreneur, it's a part and parcel of a journey that you face up and downs. But yes, this is much more tragic. I totally agree. A lot of support can be seen from the government as well as RBI or in terms of stimulus package that we can see in the coming time as per our discussion with various different experts as well as the internal discussions that is going on. But yes, if you are really passionate about your venture, I think this is a real time of testing it out, right? And if you're really passionate, you will figure out some means or others and some tactical way that you have to sustain this period, you have to pass this period, you have to make an entry into your business, and once the scenario comes comfortable or cool down, you can actually take your business to the next level. Yeah.
Exactly. Also, I've been seeing, I just read somewhere that a lot of startups shut down. At the same time, a lot of startups start in the time of recession and also pandemic situations like this. Do you have any take on this?
Yeah, as I mentioned before in this conversation, that there are two sides of it. One is the people who are facing the panic and the tensions, and second is the people who are figuring out the new solution. So everywhere when there is a destruction happens, the new scenario actually brings up, right? Or the new opportunity actually comes up. So if you are solution-oriented approach, if you're following a solution-oriented approach or figuring out the more solutions, like I'm just taking my example, which is a very small example, that we started just this initiative with the Quarantine Speaks, right? To make people learn as well as explore different opportunities and to learn that how other people are actually working, what sort of means they are exploring. So I think people have to come up with this new opportunity approach, new thought over there in terms of redefining business models, plus new opportunities in the businesses as well, right? You always have to understand what skill set you are having. You always have to understand what low-hanging fruits you are having, right? And there you have to figure out, that you can actually not just create a cash cow, alternate cash cow, but some alternate opportunities. By this, I'm not saying anybody to defocus from their core objective of the business or the line which they think about. But I'm just trying to say that it's a tactical approach to figure out some alternate needs where you can pass through this pandemic situation or the critical situation well. You can pass through this slowdown situation well or the recession well. And once the situation gets comfortable, your business should be at that stage where you can actually accelerate it to the next level, right? So there the focus should come up.
Cool. So at this point of time, if there is a startup who are a kind of thinking like they would require VC fund, and also they tend to know like they can even bootstrap. So what are your advices to people who are like in a confused situation right now?
Okay. See, guys, first of all, I think I would like to mention there are three categories of startup. I'm not talking about the stage of the startup, but also the categories. First, those early stage startup, whether at the MVP idea and all, which are there at the incubation, right? Second is of the startup which have crossed the incubation level, means they are in the market, early stage revenues and all, and but not recognized as a MSME or SME, right? And third is the startup which have scaled up or growth, which have scaled up to a level where now they can consider as a MSME or SME. Now, once we are talking about the investment, the most riskiest startup right now is the second stage, where they have crossed the incubation level and not recognized even as a MSME, SME, because they are tend to face the maximum market related issues and the challenges, both in terms of customer, in terms of sustainability, in terms of external investments. Although those who are looking to bootstrap the startup, I think that's the right time to figure out the right opportunities and where you can place, because it's a time where you can think on the board in terms of strategy, redefining, validation and all. And once the market gets open, you can actually takes it off to the next level. Second, So far as those who are looking for the investment genuinely for their business, I think they have to wait in 2 or 3 ways. First, they have to first redefine their strategy, redefine their B plan, coming out with the genuine requirements, considering these phase-wise, I would say the segregation, like next 6 months, 6 months to 24 months, and 24 months onward, and see where exactly your fund requirement and the market scenario going on. If you are coming from an industry as well as a solution which has expandability in the future, in the coming future, but today is the stress situation where you require the fund, I think you have to think about especially those funds and those investors which are which not right now writing the checks because they are also looking these uncertainties to get over. But once the situation gets open, they may reach out to them for the genuine investment from their business that they are asking. And yes, in the meantime also, I would not say once if you are ready with the B plan and other things, you can start talking to the investor in the meantime as well, wherever the pitching events or the demo days or other things are happening, or through your own connects or maybe the LinkedIn connects. I think you can just start I would say sorry, not the negotiation, but the talks with the investor if they are showing the interest.
Cool. So it was very much insightful, and with this we come to the at the end of the podcast episode. And I would like to urge each and every one of you to go to quarantinespeaks.com. You have 3 options to do. Either you can write an experience of yours, or share a video with everyone, or you can send your experience over WhatsApp. So it's a very interesting initiative. I would like to request all the audience to give force to it and make this initiative a success. So Ankur, do you have anything to say on a final note to all the entrepreneurs out there?
I think, guys, I would like to say a few words at last that yes, it's a panic situation and a little bit on the challenging situation, I would say, not just a panic. But yes, this phase, like any other phase, will pass on, right? We have lot to do, and this environment, our country, as well as the various different demographics and changing evolution, is lot to do in terms of the offerings, in terms of the business opportunities, in terms of new ideas. I think we have to keep ourselves aligned with our learning as well as patience and watchful in terms of what is happening, what is coming over there on the ground, and definitely we'll come together and we'll pass through this situation with very fruitful synergies. So stay aligned, stay safe, and take care yourself as well as your family.
It was so nice talking to you, Ankur. Thank you so much for taking out time from your busy schedule, and also you have been doing a lot of online webinars and sessions as well. That's great to see. So to all the audience, you will find the link to quarantinespeaks.com in the show notes below, and also you will find the contact points to Ankur. So if you have any things that you found insightful that you would like to discuss over more, or any other things related to your startup or something, you can directly reach out to Ankur and discuss with him.
Sure. Thanks, Balaji. Thanks for giving me this opportunity to come forward and talk to the various different entrepreneurs via your platform. And you also, please take care. Please stay safe, and looking forward to it. Thanks a lot.
If you loved this episode of Success Decoded, we would love for you to subscribe and share it with other fellow entrepreneurs and support them, as it doesn't cost you anything extra to subscribe. In return, you won't miss the awesome episodes that are lined up for you. Also, don't forget to join our entrepreneurs community of over 1 million plus entrepreneurs from all across the globe. You can find the link in the show notes below. Until next time, keep hustling, keep getting better, and this is Balaji signing off on Success Decoded.